before this, my life was a roller coaster ride, up and down, crashing, then back up and down. And I was just hoping to stop this war that was going on inside my mind. And I thought, yeah, once I do this course in meditation and self-awareness, I'll have it all together. Anyway, I did the course, and at the end of the course, the leader there, the instructor, amazing man, and he said, now you have the tools to work with this on yourself for the rest of your life. And I was thinking, no, I'm going to do this course. I paid the money and it's going to change me. But no, it gave me a beautiful set of tools to start working on myself. And that's how I first got into meditation.
Hi humans, and welcome back, or rather welcome along to Mind Detoxing if this is your first time tuning in. Here on the channel, we will delve into some really amazing, thought-provoking and enlightening conversations. And as we continue to explore, John will guide us further to connect both with the mind and body, growing ever more towards our own intuition of guiding the way for us. Today, we'll be delving in deep to meditation and the importance of it. John and his guest Lisa will share how we can start with what has really become mainstream meditation over the years to finding one's own true enlightenment, no matter our vision of the divine. Let's be here and now. John of the Millennium, we are present.
Hi humans and cats, dogs, whoever else is listening to this podcast. Big welcome along there. And meditation, very interesting subject. I first got into this, over 35 years ago, and my life was very much a roller coaster ride, up, down, and no consistent path. And finally, I did a course on meditation, and I learnt how to get in touch again with the heart, in touch with the body, with my emotions again, instead of having that switched off attitude towards everything in life. So it was a big awakening for me, and it was the start of my journey. And this is a journey where we always go within. That's our main journey, to discover who we really are and our beautiful connection with the universe, with Mother Nature, or the divine, whatever you want to put it. So that's my way. And Lisa, how did you get into meditation?
Hi, John. So I started practicing lots of yoga 20 years ago, and meditation was part of my yogic journey. And later on, around 10 years ago, I started getting into diving and free diving, and I discovered the importance of slowing down. I had always been searching for moments in between where I could really find the present moment, and always wondering, what does it mean to be fully present? And that's been a journey, and it's still ongoing for me.
I think it's ongoing for everybody, but most people don't realize they are not present. Either their mind's in the television, in a book, in their phone. Their mind is wandering off what's going to happen in the future, reminiscing of the past, or, regretting a lot of the past. And that's where a lot of blocks come into our psyche, our makeup. And eventually these blocks manifest into physical ailments and problems. So one beautiful thing about meditation, it does start a journey of freeing up those inner blocks that are within it and becoming present. And it's interesting, present is a present. It's a bit like patience. The gift of patience is patience. So becoming present doesn't mean you're just listening to somebody or focusing on the TV or phone, whatever. Being present is absorbing all these beautiful sounds and everything around you without judging them. But I'd like Lisa to enlighten us a little bit more about meditation.
Yes, so when we meditate, I have found and I have learned from the monks, and it's really like a cleansing. We are really emptying all those thoughts and memories, like you mentioned, from the mind. And when we are still, the mind, which is like a monkey, is always jumping. That is its nature. But when we become still, naturally, the mind will also come to a place of stillness once it has cleansed all of the thoughts and emotions. So one of the keys that I've learned along the way is to really just watch the process and disengage. What we are learning is to enter this witness frequency where we are not clinging. And from that space, we train ourselves to also be in this frequency in our daily lives. So to be more free.
That's beautiful. And if I can ask you, what are the advantages of meditation and the disadvantages? So if you can enlighten us on both sides of that picture.
I would say the advantages are really having clarity, cultivating mental development, and also concentration, focus. Meditation is also very helpful to relax, to have more space in the body and the mind. And as one has a clear and spacious mind, what I found is that naturally positivity, happiness will come, and also higher wisdom. This is part of my work as well. In the quantum hypnosis journeys that I work with, we actually still the mind to a point where it can tap into frequencies of higher wisdom. I would say that the disadvantages are finding the time to sit still in our busy daily schedule. What I've found for myself is that there are many ways to meditate, and one of the ways I've found is through free diving, holding the breath, practicing some yoga, so presence with movement and breath, and also journeying with my shamanic drum is also a way in which I am able to enter those states of meditation. Another disadvantage is that I would say many people maybe are not that interested in meditation because they are maybe not aware of the benefits, and we are looking for more quick solutions, and meditation takes time. It takes time to slow the mind. The mind is a very delicate thing and it needs time.
Beautiful. Needs time. Yeah, that's another subject we could dive deeply into time. A lot of people I talk to, they say, I'd like to do meditation, but I haven't got the time. What I found it does for me personally, it defrags the hard drive. In other words, the days go a bit smoother and better, and more consistency and more synchronicity in the days from just a 20-minute meditation in the morning. So if you haven't got the time, that's when you need meditation the most, because somehow it frees up time. It creates a better space for the body, mind, and spirit to be in to organize your days a bit better. Beautiful way that that seems to work. So the other disadvantage is sometimes it brings up emotions, feelings that haven't been dealt with before. That was a big one with me when I first started meditating. I was in a big class, about 30 people, and I felt like I wanted to cry. But being a man, I just suppressed that. No, men don't cry, hold that down. And then I started getting horrible headaches, and I was going to leave this course. And one of the helpers on the course just sat me down in the corner and said a few little words, just talking to me. And then all of a sudden, I burst out crying. And it was a huge release for me. I felt embarrassed at first because I couldn't hold these emotion and tears back. And it was all about unexpressed grief when my father died. And that was, well, 2 years after that, I learnt meditation, and that grief needed an outlet, which I was holding back. And after that, I stopped having repetitive dreams about my father, and I could talk about my father without choking up or tearing up. So these emotions or past traumas and problems, with meditation, it can free them up and bring them to the surface to be dealt with. We can hold them down, suppress them with drugs and medication, alcohol, or excessive sports where we get addicted to our adrenaline, whatever, phones, dopamine hits. We can suppress all this stuff down, but if it's wanting to come out and it can't come out, eventually it could show in an illness, disease, lack of power, lack of clarity along those lines. Lisa, have you had any relationship to that with some of your clients?
Yes, absolutely, John. Some of my clients often are a little bit frightened by sometimes some visions or some memories can appear as the mind is decompressing and purifying, and sometimes it's quite intense. There are techniques to just open the eyes and to just let the mind relax again while it's purifying itself. But just like you shared, just like dust under the carpet, one day when we clean up, all of this will come back to the surface, and then we have more space, no, and these memories are no longer, needing to come up. And another component that I've found with my clients is that a lot of them have some obstacles in their body. The body holds a lot of tension usually, and that's where, for me, the practice of yoga postures, really opening the body so that it releases tension, helps a lot to be comfortable, because just like in freediving or meditation, uh, the base for all of it is relaxation. That's what I found.
Right. Yes, even feng shui of the house needs to be very important in helping free up that blocked energy space. Okay, getting back to more about meditation in itself, I call a lot of stuff there excessive compulsive thinking, where many of my clients and people I meet just cannot stop thinking. The monkey mind is doing 10 to the dozen and doesn't want to slow down. So there are many different ways to go about slowing that monkey mind down: alcohol, drugs, but I don't suggest them. Meditation is a beautiful way to start being at peace. Now, a lot of people are seeking happiness. Wow, when I make a lot of money, I'll be happy. When I buy the new car, the Ferrari, I'll be happy then. But happiness starts from within. But we think all these objects and material things or relationships will bring us happiness. But there's one thing higher than happiness, is being at peace with yourself. And good luck with material possessions. You get a big adrenaline buzz after you get a new toy or a new car or a new house, but eventually you revert back to the same old you. And it's a bit like money. Money is a false multiplier. In other words, if you're an angry person and you come into a lot of money, it'll make you more angry. If you're a sad person and win the lotto, the lottery, whatever, you become more sad. And guess what? If you're a happy person, it'll make you more happy. So be careful what you wish for, what energy, what frequency you are putting out there. If you're at peace with yourself, you can notice it in some people. Wow, what have they got? There's something about them. You look at them, you try to study them, you try to rattle them, and it doesn't make any difference. Those people have usually done a lot of work on themselves and they're very happy with themselves. And I like to call it a bit of self-love, where they're okay in their own skin. But those type of people, when I question them, they've done a lot of inner work on themselves. Being meditation is part of that journey. Don't expect to just meditate and float off the air and be up with the fairies after the first session. I've still got to calm down the monkey mind, focus on the breathing to settle myself down. And yes, thoughts come into my mind and my mind will start wandering. Whoa, I bring myself back to the breathing or whatever sounds are around me. It might be birds chirping, whatever, but not judging those sounds, just accepting them. Yes, they're part of that. I have a friend who is an excellent meditator, and he reckons he can meditate in the center of a busy traffic junction. And that's just the beauty of the level he's got himself up with that. What do you suggest, Lisa, in ways that, well, we'll start with the basic first. We won't get into deep transcendental meditation, but what do you think are the good ways of helping you become in this relaxed, peaceful state?
Well, what I've learned so far and what has really been working for me, and I believe the simplest is really best when it comes to uh, stilling the mind. At the end of the line, it's how one can stay content with the moment. Basically, what I've learned is that meditation is a journey and the mind is a passenger. The mind is a monkey and it will jump from one tree to the next. So all the techniques, be it breathing or focusing on visualizing an object or simply doing nothing, are all vehicles to transport the mind into stillness. And I would say for people who would feel like starting a practice, the most important is the foundation. And once that foundation is solid, then the mind will naturally come to stillness. And those two foundations are comfort and consciousness. So when one is meditating, they need to really be very comfortable in their body so that the mind can slowly come to stillness. And consciousness is really necessary because what I found in my experience is that sometimes I will simply fall asleep or become sleepy. So a good amount of consciousness or awareness that I know what I am doing at this moment combined with comfort are very powerful to still the mind. And once these two components are balanced, the mind will naturally stay still and will come back into the body.
For all that. Okay. One of the things I like to start off with is firstly, when you're in a beautiful, comfortable position, it's no use getting in a cramped position where you're not comfortable. You might have to support your back with a chair or whatever. So you can start off really comfortable. The next thing is put a smile on your face. And even when you get up in the morning, just put a smile on your face. It makes such a big difference to the meditation and to your day. It's very difficult to fake a smile, but you put a smile on your face, other people smile along with you. And it takes that energy, that frequency along with you. It's very good to lighten up with all this, not take meditation serious. It's a bit like you're going to a meditation class and you've left it to 5 minutes to get there and you're rushing to get to meditation. You're walking in with a state of anxiety to start the meditation. Your adrenaline is pumping, and that takes a little bit to calm down, to get back to normal energies. Even meditation could be just a walk on the beach. You've got these beautiful energies just walking along the water's edge at the beach. You've got the water energy. You've got the land energy, as in the sand. you also have the air energy, you have the sun energy, and you have the cosmic energy. If you start doing that and just focusing on your breathing, and as soon as a thought comes into your head, don't hate yourself or try to beat yourself up because a thought came in there. Just recognize that and get back to your breathing. Also, with meditation, get back to your breathing. And this is very much so for a lot of basic beginners, but still myself, I've been meditating well over 30 years and I still have to get back to the breathing where you focus on that breath coming in and filling up your lungs. Now, this is stomach breathing, which is very good. And then focusing on the breath exhaling and going out there. And sometimes it's just good to do 3 deep breaths very slowly, in through the nose and usually out through the nose, just to relax that scattered energy to just calm you down again. Very interesting the way I started to learn meditation. I didn't want to learn it, I didn't know anything about it, but I was chartering my yacht over in New Zealand and a guest came on board and he loved being on the water so much, he decided to come back a second term on the boat. And he was doing these self-transformation courses. And this is when I was over in New Zealand. He said, come along for these courses. I said, well, that sounds interesting. I said, how much? And he gave me the price and I thought, oh, I can't afford that. And he said, if you really want to do the course, the money will come. Anyway, the money did come and I chose to do this course. And that's how I first kicked off. I didn't know it was going to be about meditation or whatever. But before this, my life was a roller coaster ride, up and down, crashing, then back up and down. And I was just hoping to stop this war that was going on inside my mind. And I thought, yeah, once I do this course in meditation and self-awareness, I'll have it all together. Anyway, I did the course, and at the end of the course, the leader there, the instructor, amazing man, and he said, now you have the tools to work with this on yourself for the rest of your life. And I was thinking, no, I'm going to do this course. I paid the money and it's going to change me. But no, it gave me a beautiful set of tools to start working on myself. And that's how I first got into meditation. Lisa, how did you first get into it?
I first got into meditation really seriously when I started my journey in freediving. I realized that I would become very still in my mind when I was holding my breath underwater. And then I simply started to look for ways to reach that state while on land and breathing. And what also got me into meditation was really looking for ways to not jump to the future, not planning too much and trying to control what the next step would be. So once I started practicing more and more meditation, I just released the next moment, and then um, I realized that when there is no next, I could rest, and I realized that happiness is now. That was the most powerful realization for me. And then I started practicing with some monks who taught me even simpler ways to just bring the mind back into the body. And I am still on this journey practicing, but deeper levels of happiness, deeper levels of space between what happens and how I respond.
Beautiful. And what would you say? Well, I think you mentioned it already, some of the benefits that's happened for you, which is deeper peace. What about with meditation? How does that help aches, pains, illnesses, and diseases? Just your view of it. How does that help one person heal certain parts of their body?
In my view, when we practice meditation, we replace reactivity with responsivity. So instead of reacting, we create a habit of being responsive, like a buffer between what is happening and how we respond. And I think the mind gets very attached to certain belief systems or to certain physical sensations. And I found through meditation, we have much more space to maneuver, and we are not so much attached as intensely as before to what is coming through our senses. So I think it is very healing for whatever dis-ease or imbalance is in the body, because what I've realized also through my healing practices is that it is really all connected, mind, body, spirit.
Yeah, what I found also with a lot of people, traumas of the past, if they can be dealt with and completed and the lessons learnt from them, we can move on very quickly. Why we're still stuck in traumas, and quite often we can bury those traumas so deep we don't realise a lot of things that did happen in the past. And when those traumas are completed, not just looked at, analysed, no, they've got to go about a completion. And you've got to understand what's the lesson I had to learn with that trauma. And if you don't learn the lesson, those traumas will repeat themselves, but the next time a bit heavier and harder. And I can tell you, I've been through a lot of that with 2 near-death experiences because I wasn't learning the lessons I've chosen to learn. That's on a much deeper level where I've chosen to learn these lessons. But meditation frees up a lot of this stuff to come to the surface to be dealt with. So that's one of the beauty of those things. Sometimes, and you've probably found this in your practice, I've found it in mine, that the traumas could go very deep, as in back in past lives. And we've brought these into this life. I know we're talking woo-woo stuff here. I hope everybody can hang on to this. But we might have a feeling of, say, guilt, and we can't understand, why am I always feeling guilty? It can go back through generations, that stuff can, and also back through lifetimes where we are expressing whatever happened in the past, and especially from generational stuff that has come through. Now, if these things start coming up, oh, I can't do meditation, it's too intense. No, I don't want to work with that. Well, you might have to go into, I won't call it therapy, but deeper analysis of what's going on inside you, what's happening there. All this information is deep inside in the Akashic record. Everybody can tap into that, whether it's with hypnosis, a very gifted, intuitive healer that can go in there. So sometimes we need deeper stuff rather than just medicate the thing to cover it up. So if you're meditating and stuff does start coming to the surface, wow, that's a good sign. It's stuff that hasn't been dealt with for years. And when you deal with this stuff, the energy starts flowing. And everything is energy and frequency. So you get that energy flowing again, and healing starts taking place. And especially if we look into chakras, I won't go deep into chakras, that'll be for another session. If you can get that energy flowing in the chakras again, and there's a myriad of things that can block energy flowing through chakras. And we're only running on 50%, some people, of their capacity. Once you get that energy flowing through those chakras, you have a lot more energy to deal with life and a lot more, how would you put it, patience, humbleness, gratitude, and forgiveness. That comes into your life too with those things.
Well, thank you, John and Lisa. That was definitely a deep dive into meditation. I think the listeners would be really keen to put some steps in place to start to incorporate this into their lives, to start to research it a bit more. It was quite overwhelming when I was like, well, where do I even start? I feel like I don't have the time, and that's when I do need it the most. I realize that. But I actually started doing this with breath holds. And, you know, a mate of mine just said, why don't you try and see how long you can hold your breath? And when I started, I think I got less than sort of 30 seconds, but then I built it up to over 3.5 minutes on land. And I realized that your mind has to quieten. You have to put yourself in a bubble. You have to just sit with your emotions and not be thinking about, you know, the outside world. Otherwise, your breath is going to, your mind is going to come into it, and then you can't hold your breath for as long, and then you get out of that mode. And I found that that was a form of meditation, even though I was holding my breath, and it wasn't, you know, probably the way we know meditation to be is sitting in a room and sitting with a instructor and guiding us through it. But that's how I first got it, how we can take the first step. What would that be? Is it go to a class? Is it seek out the guidance of, you know, listening to this podcast? What would you start with?
So to start, there are different ways to meditate really and to enter that space of the present moment. But when it comes to sitting meditation, I would recommend attending a class to get the basics. And then what I would recommend is, even if someone doesn't have much time, the best times to really, really empty the mind and to program it is right after waking up, even for 5 minutes, and right before going to sleep. Those are very precious times where it can make all the difference in the world, and build it from there.
That's good. So we've got an understanding there's many forms of meditation and how to approach it. It could be just watching a candle or a fire and just mesmerized by the flame. It could be a walk on the beach. It could be going to yoga class to learn meditation. There's also a lot of ways to learn meditation online. It's good to find a basic meditation to start off, one that's in harmony with you, whether it's a few friends sitting down together and talking through relaxing the mind, coming back down to earth. I love the free diving or holding your breath method. That's a beautiful way. And all of us, all three of us here, we've got something in common. We very much love the water. And being on the water brings up a lot of emotions and feelings, sometimes good and sometimes to be dealt with. I was lucky I had a big class to learn it in, and I pursued it, and I do it every day, 20 minutes. The earlier in the morning I do it without flicking through the phone, without getting distractions, making phone calls, making lists, whatever, the earlier in the morning I can do the meditation, the more beneficial it feels for me. And as I said earlier, it helps defrag the hard drive. So my form of meditation is sitting down quiet for 20 minutes, then putting on a beautiful bit of Tibetan singing bowl. So that music, that vibration that's coming through me, I start focusing on my breathing, and then just let's see which way it takes. If I've gone into a beautiful meditation state, time just seems irrelevant and goes, wow, it's at the end of it already? And I know that's a really good meditation. If I find I'm monkey minding and trying to rush it to the end, right, I need to be in a better frame of mind. It probably hasn't started early enough in the morning, or I've had distractions before I've started that, and excessive compulsive thinking kicks in again. But it's always good if you do get interrupted, get back and finish off, say 20 minutes. You might only want to do 5 minutes to start off with, and that will be very beneficial. So I'll put it over to Jess for a few little more comments there. What do you think, Jess?
Yeah, that was really great, you two. And I think how we all sort of connected was I originally met Lisa in Koh Tao, which for those of you who don't know where that is in the world, it's over in Thailand. And you just really spoke to me with your meditation. I was in a class. It was a time in my life when I just needed to sit with my thoughts and not be off, having that adrenaline rush that we just spoke of and doing diving or going trekking. And I was forced to really feel those emotions, and a lot of stuff came up for me. And you just brought out this tuning fork, and I don't know what it was, but something just resonated with me, something with that frequency and vibration. And I knew that I wanted to research more about how that worked and what it could do for me. And I remember we did a session on my own podcast, and I think it would be great to maybe link you two up again and you can do a meditation for our listeners.
Hey, that would be great. Yeah, I'd be in on that. And even go into other topics with Lisa. She's got some beautiful experience in healing there, very deep stuff where even with hypnotherapy, where you go very deep. I'd like to explore that a little bit more, myself and Lisa, and with you.
Yeah, that
So,
would be great. That would be great.
I'd love that. Yeah. All about the spaces in between and some journeys with sound, and also going into deep trance-like states of meditation to access healing. And just like you shared, John, from understanding we heal. So yeah, I'd be delighted.
And we can pop it on a YouTube video, maybe a live version. I think that would really hit some good notes.
That would be wonderful.
talking about good notes.
Thank you, humans, for joining John of the Millennium and guest Lisa as they really dive deep on meditation, starting off first with the importance of carving out a little piece of time just for us to be with our own thoughts and be truly present in our moments, first and foremost in the mind, and then to resonate and distribute this energy throughout our bodies. I'm sure we hear it a lot from our close orbit of people, our colleagues at work, or our friends we catch up with on the weekends. The classic, "I just don't have time." And to that we ask you to challenge that self-talk with this: we all get 24 hours in a day. And no matter how you slice it up, something else has just taken priority and had your attention. In a day and age when the ever-present digital space is constantly looming over us, this is something that you can do each and every day. You get to reset yourself. Instead of hitting refresh on your social feed, be in your bubble a few minutes longer. When you first rise, let your frequency rest. Press pause on the alarm of your own consciousness, and if you let it, this will flow through to the areas of your life where you really need it the most. Where to next? Let's steer the frequency and vibration over to You Are the Compass, where we will visit a concept and a very thought-provoking topic indeed. Until next tuning in, hear you soon.